It is Monday yet again. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to your Monday Night Raw review for May 20th, 2024, the Go Home Raw for King and Queen of the Ring. This weekend in Saudi Arabia, the finals on the Raw side are done. We now have our finalists over there with Lyra Valkyria. Am I saying that right? Advancing, defeating Io Sky in a pretty big upset in my mind. And in the main event tonight of Monday Night Raw, Gunther did in fact defeat Jey Uso, and he will be heading now to the finals, assumingly to face Randy Orton. I really wanted that final. That's the one we've kind of been eyeballing ever since the brackets were released. Many of us have that one penciled in as our final because I think that would be a really attractive match to put on the Saudi Arabia card. Plus, it's a first-time match. However, on the other side of those brackets, the two opponents of Gunther and Randy Orton are Jey Uso and Tama Tonga, respectively. So, if we would have gotten a Jey Uso and Tama Tonga final, I would have technically also been okay with that as well because that's WWE's big top storyline. The Bloodline continues to roll. They're planned to have a huge 2024 and have a storyline that's going to carry us into the end of the year and into next year, Royal Rumble and WrestleMania time. So if they wanted to have that be a focal point of the King of the Ring and get Jey Uso back involved in that mix, I could understand that too, but I was really preferring Randy Orton versus Gunther. Now we are one step closer to that happening. I think a Gunther and Tama Tonga final would be weird. It doesn't feel like one that matches to me. I think Gunther and Randy Orton will be the match we get, and I think maybe on SmackDown, that is going to be from Saudi Arabia as well, also in Jeddah on Friday. I think maybe you'll get some Kevin Owens interference or something like that to help Randy Orton get the victory over Tama Tonga and head into the finals the next day to take on Gunther, who's going to go a whole week of rest. And I guess he can travel overseas now because he did win tonight on Raw, which means he'll be heading to Jeddah in the finals. And I thought Gunther and Jey Uso was pretty good. I thought overall tonight's Raw was still a solid show. Even though it wasn't setting the world on fire or anything like that, you know, Monday Night Raws lately have been really, really solid. So I had very few issues with this show at all. Thought the wrestling was good. Thought some of the stories they were telling were good with the Chad Gable stuff and Bron Breakker going on a rampage, you know, destroying that poor jobber and fucking up a few people behind the scenes as well. He is pissed off and he made a statement and he seems really, really upset about not being included in the King of the Ring, and that's what they're using as his motivation for the rampage that he has been going on and for all the people that he's beaten up. So we'll talk a little bit about that, what that could mean for the future, and what we're likely to see this Saturday in Saudi Arabia at the King and Queen of the Ring with a lot of these matches. And you know, we'll just kind of preview it, maybe offer some early predictions, but you guys are going to get my full predictions this week. Big week of videos planned. We're going to be doing a double header on Thursday. Thursday is the 25th anniversary of the death of Owen Hart, so you can expect a video drop that morning. Then later on that afternoon and evening, we're going to be up here live to predict both pay-per-views. WWE King and Queen of the Ring on Saturday and AEW Double or Nothing on Sunday. We'll predict both of those on Thursday night. Then on Saturday afternoon, around the same time we usually come up here and do the podcast, we will be reviewing King and Queen of the Ring. And then on Sunday, we're going to do a watch party for AEW Double or Nothing. But unfortunately, no watch along for the Saudi Arabia show because it airs at 10 a.m. in the morning for me here on the West Coast, and that's just too early for me to be on camera. I ain't pretty yet. My hair's not done. My makeup's not on, and I do not look myself at 10 in the morning, so we're going to just do a review on Saturday, but Sunday we'll be here watching Double or Nothing together. It's going to be a fun week of wrestling. 1 week from today is Memorial Day. Just if you want to put this on your calendars now, no Raw review next week. I'm going to be doing some family stuff, so some good old holiday, Memorial Day, shit like that. So we're going to be skipping next week's Raw review, but you're going to get a whole lot of me all week long, so that should satisfy your GMW cravings, you know what I mean? Hopefully you guys are having a great evening so far. We're going to be talking mostly about Monday Night Raw tonight and what we're going to be looking at for King of the Ring, and maybe even speculate further into Clash at the Castle, Money in the Bank, and even SummerSlam if you want. Also, if there's anything you want me to discuss in the chat, let me know. We do have a couple of news tidbits as well that we're going to be getting into, but this is probably not going to be a long 2-hour podcast or anything like that. We're just going to run through Raw, preview the pay-per-view, and get into some news tidbits and hang out and chat with you guys. That is the plan for tonight. So thanks again, as always, for being here. You guys know the drill. Do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button for me. The likes are really important on this channel. They help the channel and they help me. So please do that for me. I would appreciate it. And if you are not a subscriber, click that button. Our next milestone that is on our radar is 50,000 subscribers. So we need to get there soon. Tell your friends, tell your moms, tell your grandmas, all that stuff, and tell them to come join us for Wrestling Talk. Good to see Ajax Johnson joining the family. What's up, man? Appreciate you joining. We've had a lot of new members come in over the past couple of days. Thanks for being here. What's up, Greg? Good evening to everyone. Finally joining the family. Happy to have you, man. We are having some member updates coming real soon, along with some videos. So stay tuned. Perfect time to be joining right now. Always good to see Nate Dogg. Phew, Jey Uso lost. Thank God. I would not have been freaking out that much. There was a lot of chatter today online on social media I saw about Jey Uso, and there seems to be this opinion that is now being just repeated on our wonderful echo chamber of a fucking social media site that Twitter is. And all of a sudden now, just because Jey Uso happens to have a super over entrance, now all of a sudden that means he can't wrestle and all he is entrance. That opinion is spreading like wildfire. Is it? And I'm not calling out you, Nate Dogg. You were just happy that Jey lost. I'm happy Jey lost too because I wanted Gunther and Orton. So your motivations, I'm sure, are the same as mine. But I did see a lot of the chatter today on social media about this, and people are acting as if it would have been some sort of travesty if Jey Uso won tonight, almost as if he's not worthy. It's almost as if because he's found something that's gotten him so over, fans are trying to find a way to turn that into a negative. For the past 4 years now, ever since Roman Reigns came back, became the tribal chief, and Jey Uso started getting those main event matches, becoming a singles player, a single star, main event Jey Uso, he has received, excuse me, he has received nothing but praise from us, from the audience and the crowd, from people on social media. I've seen nothing but positivity surrounding Jey Uso. Now, all of a sudden, that he has an entrance that is extremely epic and just quite the presentation with the thing. And now, all of a sudden, fans are making themselves believe that that's all this guy is. All of a sudden, now he's entrance and nothing else. You know what I've seen so many people say and repeat and repeat and repeat? They're parrots. They're parrots. He's got that entrance, but then the bell rings. Yeah? We've seen what happens when the bell rings. Jey Uso's been in the WWE for 12 years. We know exactly what happens when the bell rings in a Jey Uso match. We've seen it time and time and time and time again. So to sit there and pretend that all of a sudden this guy's not a good wrestler only because he has found an entrance that is super spectacular and is super over, that is a weird mentality that is very prominent in the IWC and the internet wrestling chatter community. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know why people start telling themselves these things and then quadrupling down on these beliefs. I wanted Gunther and Randy Orton. I'm happy that Gunther won tonight. But if Jey Uso would have won and they would have given us Jey Uso and Tama Tonga, the last thing I would have been doing is shitting my pants about it. It makes perfect sense to me. The bloodline is a top storyline, a top angle. Of course they're going to weave it in to the King of the Ring. It would make a lot of sense to me. Now, I'm glad they didn't do that because I really, really, really want to see Gunther and Orton, but I could totally understand them going in that direction if they chose to. I also think Nia Jax is going to wind up beating Bianca Belair on Friday, and she's going to perhaps win the Queen of the Ring. And what about Nia Jax joining the bloodline? I could see it. That's why I started thinking that maybe Jey Uso might win tonight. I'm like, what if Nia Jax and Tama Tonga both win the King and Queen of the Rings? And they're now in the bloodline together. I could see that happening. But now Tama Tonga is going to have to beat Randy Orton, and then he's going to have to beat Gunther. That seems unlikely. I feel like Randy Orton is a shoo-in now to win on Friday, but it did make me think. But the Jey Uso stuff has been really weird. Seeing that online, a lot of people just all of a sudden have this opinion. And granted, his match with Jimmy Uso at WrestleMania was not great. But I feel like between that happening, between the match with Jey Uso in 30-degree weather or whatever the fuck it was, not landing or hitting the way we thought. Plus, Jey Uso now having the super over-the-top entrance. It's like the fans are just hardwired to kind of think this way. And it just all of a sudden made them forget about everything we've seen from Jey Uso, not only over the last 12 years, but specifically the last 3 or 4, when he's been highly competitive in singles. And now all of a sudden, he's only entrance, and he can't do shit after the bell rings. And I don't get that mentality. And I think what it is just fans don't have original thoughts. They see one person say this, then they just adopt it, and then they spread it. And I'm just begging us to think a little bit more than that, because that's just an asinine opinion to have. And it was everywhere today. Everybody has this opinion. Why is it like that? Original thoughts. Think for yourself, please. Goddamn, I'm begging you. Otherwise, the wrestling business cannot survive. It's already a cesspool as it is, bad enough online. The last thing we need is to start convincing ourselves that good wrestlers are bad just because they have an over entrance. This business. Anyway, Nate Dogg. I'm only two names down. I went off on a little tangent and rant already. But good to see you as always, Nate. Rodrigo, happy birthday. Wish Rodrigo Martinez a happy birthday. He is 28 years old today. Oh, man, I am 18 years older than you, man. Happy birthday to you. 28's a good, healthy, fresh, strong age to be. You're in the prime of your life, Rodrigo. Happy birthday, man. Always good to see you here. And thanks for joining us. Zane G is here, my friend. Good to see JJ Leg as well. We got Big J. We got Daniel Barry Sports. Who'd I miss? Oh, I lost my place in line. Doug Unfunny is here. Ricky Zalvadar. We have Victor Colon. I got JJ and Big J. Amato, my boy, my friend, Amato Gonzalez. Hey, Greg, working a 50-hour week. Birthday is Wednesday. Happy early birthday to Amato as well. Now, unlike Rodrigo, who's turning 28, Amato is turning 78. So make sure you wish Amato a happy birthday. Him and Andre the Giant, if Andre was alive today, would be the same age. So Amato is good friend of ours, and he's always very generous here to us on the channel. And he's going to the final Blockbuster store. I believe that's up in Oregon, right? And we were exchanging some DMs this week, and it looks like he's going to be throwing some stuff in another care package. I'm kind of a Blockbuster mark. He knows that. He sent me a keychain. I think I have a keychain, a refrigerator magnet, some postcards, and I have my own Blockbuster case up there. But just as a kid, going to the video store on a Friday or Saturday night and renting a movie, those memories are tattooed on my brain, and I appreciate all the love as always, Amato, and happy early birthday to the old man. Jake the Aerial Assassin is in the house as well. So is Isaac. So is Sonic Plays. Max Pokebra. I don't mind Gunther winning, but WWE has to do something with Jey. Yeah, I agree with that too. I do, because Jey Uso has, that's another reason why I didn't understand why so many fans would have been mad if he won tonight, because he's lost everything else. He's lost the championship opportunities that he's gotten. So, I mean, at some point, he should win something, and King of the Ring, King Jey might have been kind of fun. If you add a crown to the yeet glasses and all of that, it might have been fucking over the top. And I wouldn't have totally hated it. But I do agree that, if they want to make Jey Uso and present Jey Uso as a top main event star, which they have been doing for quite a while, he's main evented a lot of Monday Night Raws. The dude is over. He's got a great presentation. I like Jey Uso. The yeet thing can be a little corny, but not everything's fucking perfect. He's still fucking over as hell. And at some point, you're right. They might have to do something with him, but I think beating Gunther might have been a stretch. I mean, that would have been one great way to say, oh man, Jey Uso is for real, but I would have, if Jey Uso was going to win the King of the Ring, I would have just not put Gunther in it. That's why I felt like Gunther, the minute he declared, I think he was the first person on TV to declare for the King of the Ring. As soon as he said that in his promo, I'm like, there's your winner. Because who else is it going to be? Who else is it going to be? It's got to be Gunther. And he's still my pick right now. How Weezy's here. Good to see you, man. Damian Drain in the house as well. So is the Juliet. Sorry you're late. Was finishing watching the local weather forecast. Don't you have that weather app on your phone, girl? I miss watching the weather. I hardly have to watch the weather ever out here in San Diego because it's always the same. Tomorrow's forecast, awesome. Continued awesome in the afternoon, followed by partially awesome at night. Tomorrow, repeat the process. It's always awesome here. Juliet, always happy to see you. And thank you for the $2. Tough break, literally, for Eddie Kingston. Wishing him well. Yeah, we did get an update on Eddie Kingston's injury, and he does have some, I had it written down somewhere. He has got some tears. I think a meniscus and an MCL or AC. I think it's ACL, right? It's ACL and meniscus. In addition to a tibular fracture. And this all happened in his New Japan match last week. So not only is he out for the immediate future, but Eddie Kingston is going to be out for probably close to a year, because that is a long recovery time for even the best conditioned athletes. And I think we can all agree, as much as we love Eddie, he's not really the best conditioned athlete that we have in pro wrestling. So if I'm fantasizing, if I'm fantasy booking about the day that we get Eddie back, I think he's going to have one of the biggest pops upon his return, because of how long he's going to be gone. And I would love just to see him turn up completely unannounced. No teases, no hints, don't lay any groundwork, don't plant any seeds, just punch us right in the face with him about a year from now. And I think if Eddie can get himself back 100% and rehabbed within the next 12 months, which would put us at May of 2025, right around the time of Double or Nothing, when they will probably book another Anarchy in the Arena match. I would save his return just for there. Have him come out. That image, I love the image of him stumbling out to the ring with the gas can. It was either Blood and Guts or it was Anarchy. I forgot what match that was, but that was just such an incredible visual and a great illustration of how crazy, he is. And if he were to come back in the middle of a match like that, completely unannounced, his music hits and he's out there hobbling, and he either brings a machete, a chainsaw, a can of gasoline, something gnarly, is kind of the way I want to see him show back up on the scene. Best wishes to Eddie Kingston. Tough break. And we wish him well, because he's got a lot of recovery ahead of him. Good to see Scruffy Nerd in here. Jimmy is weak. Uso, not Jey. I like Jimmy too. You guys are too hard on the Usos. Everybody is. I think what's happening is it's starting just to spread, is what it is. I don't think anybody really truly believes this in their heart. They've just heard it and decided to agree with it and go along with it. But Jimmy, I like Jey better. I think Jey's got a little bit more charisma, but Jimmy, man, he can cut a promo, man. They both can. I don't think we're giving the Usos enough credit. I really don't. I think people are being unusually and unreasonably hard on them for some reason right now, because it's the current trendy thing to do. It will fade. But Jimmy is... I think the WrestleMania match sucked. It did. Jimmy and Jey Uso at WrestleMania this year sucked. But I think a lot of people were taking that match and saying, see, they can't cut it. And I'm like, it's just one fucking match. Everybody has a shitty match sometimes, unless you're Shawn Michaels or AJ Styles. Everybody can stink it up. Everybody. So I just think it's a little bit unreasonable. But then again, I'm an Uso fan, so maybe I'm standing them. Maybe I'm a stan. That's all it is. JJ Leg, happy to see you, man. Damn, 21 months, huh? Jesus. Love Jey, but Gunther was the right call here, in my opinion. Yeah, it was. I mean, it has to be Gunther. And I've said that from the beginning, because Gunther, I think, is, he needs to be still presented as every bit as unbeatable as he was before he lost to Sami Zayn. And I don't think he's going to turn around and lose another match, especially clean, this close after losing to Sami Zayn. So if I'm WWE and I have already decided who's going to win the King of the Ring, and it's not going to be Gunther, then I'm not putting Gunther in the fucking tournament. So to me, it was almost like given. They gave away the winner just by... That's how good WWE has done about presenting and pushing Gunther. That's how strong of a character they have made him, that just by putting him in the tournament gives away the outcome. And it does. It's going to be Gunther. He will beat Randy Orton. He absolutely will. There's no reason for Randy Orton to be King of the Ring. No reason at all in this stage of his career. So it makes much more sense for Gunther. He can use that perhaps as a springboard to maybe get a title shot at SummerSlam. If Drew McIntyre and CM Punk aren't battling for that title, I can see Gunther maybe getting that shot, because if he's going to win the King of the Ring, think about that. Think about Gunther if he does win the King of the Ring like we expect him to. How are they going to hold off giving him a title shot? They're not going to be able to hold off for that long. I mean, it's going to be McIntyre and Priest at Clash, of course. CM Punk is going to be back around for that. CM Punk might even be in the Money in the Bank and perhaps win that. CM Punk with the Money in the Bank briefcase, I would love. And it might be the only way to really grant him a title shot when you think about it, because how would Punk be able to be just awarded a title shot when he hasn't wrestled? He's wrestled one time for like 10 minutes in the Rumble. That's it. Since he's come back in November, he's been inside of a wrestling ring for about 15 total minutes, right? So we haven't even seen him. So how are they going to, if they want to do a McIntyre and Punk match, or if they want to switch the title from one to the other and have Punk be in this mix, I think winning the Money in the Bank might be the only way to make a storyline reason to get him there. But Gunther, after winning the King of the Ring, how are you going to hold him off? How are you going to not have him challenge for the title? He's going to have to do something after the King of the Ring, because think about it. At the King of the Ring, he's going to be beating a SmackDown star, so it's not like you can carry on a program there unless Orton jumps over to SmackDown and we get another match out of these two. But it feels like this might have to be a one-off between Gunther and Orton, which means when Gunther comes back here to the States as King of the Ring on Monday, 1 week from tonight, assumingly, when he's having his victory celebration, somebody's going to have to confront him. Somebody's going to have to interrupt him. Somebody's going to have to come out. Probably Vinci. No, it can't be Vinci. Did he get traded to SmackDown? Or did he get drafted to SmackDown? He might have. I don't remember what happened to Vinci, but I feel like he could come back. And I think he did get drafted to SmackDown. But I feel like next week somebody's going to have to confront Gunther, or Gunther's going to have to call someone out. So if nobody comes out next week in Gunther's celebration and gets in his face, causing Gunther to have a couple of matches with this person for the next couple of weeks, maybe into Clash at the Castle, then I feel like Gunther's going to have to call out the champion. You know, Priest. Or, hey, Priest and McIntyre's match is already set. I want the winner. Something like that, right? Is how it's going to have to go. That's my assumption. But JJ, I'm with you. Gunther was the right call tonight. Good to see the Mandalorian in here. Hope all you folks are doing good. And you too, Greg. I'm always doing good. Thank you so much for being here. Ronnie Matthews is in the house. Always happy to see you. Michael Johan, good to see another channel member in here. Mr. J is here as well. So is 5-star. Right on. We got a good little crew in here. Danny from Oak Park, did I get you? Chicken McNuggets. For someone who can't drive, Jay is over. That's true. Oh, Jey Uso is, we did give the Usos a lot of shit, rightfully so. Both of them were having trouble with those DUIs. And, now when they're achieving some of the greatest success they've ever seen and being a part of this, amazing, phenomenal bloodline story that's been dominating television for the past 2 years. They better not fuck up again, man. That's all I'm saying. Stephen Harris, always happy to see you. Ram Vinero, good to see you as well. Titanium Titan is here. Happy that everyone is here. Happy Monday once again, everyone. So far, we've just been shooting the shit, flapping my gums, giving Jey Uso opinions, giving Gunther opinions, King of the Ring opinions, SummerSlam opinions, what to do with the World Heavyweight title. And right now, I am a big advocate for CM Punk winning the Money in the Bank. I think that would be a fun callback. And help me out, you statisticians in the chat there. If Punk wins the Money in the Bank, have we even had a two-time Money in the Bank holder other than him? Is Punk still the only two-time Money in the Bank briefcase holder? How cool would it be if he was a three-time? My memory is so bad. Have we had somebody hold it twice other than Punk? I don't think we have. Carmella, maybe. Didn't a girl do it? Or no, maybe Carmella didn't do it. There might have been a woman who did it. Possibly. Probably is. But I can't think of any men. Well, did Edge? No, Edge didn't. Well, I guess Edge did. Edge won it he won the match that gave him the briefcase, right? And then he cashed in. So technically Edge, but has anybody pulled the briefcase off the hook more than twice? I don't think so. Only Punk. Oh, The Miz. The Miz. Good point. I forgot, Nate Dogg. Thank you. Miz. Because Miz beat Randy Orton all those years ago, the Miz girl. And then he did it in the Thunderdome, right? I almost said Superdome. In the Silverdome. In the Superdome. Against, what did he beat? Lashley or McIntyre or something, right? So, so I guess Miz. I guess Ellsworth. Did Ellsworth pull it? Yeah, because I know Ellsworth had something to do with the Carmella one, right? Yeah, so technically Edge. even though he didn't win 2 Money in the Bank matches, but he did cash in 2 briefcases. So that's a different stat. And The Miz is one of these people. That's just crazy to me. But Punk being a 3-time and successfully cashing it in all 3 times. And the way Punk and Drew, a lot of their story has been told by trolling, and Punk holding that briefcase while McIntyre is champion, he could torment the shit out of him. I mean, he would just have McIntyre all off balance, constantly worried, constantly looking over his shoulder, constantly getting frustrated by never knowing when the other shoe's going to drop. And that could be fun television, just having CM Punk just torture McIntyre and make sure that McIntyre, assuming he beats Priest at Clash at the Castle, he may or may not. But if he were to do that, and then CM Punk could say, like, hey, I'm the Money in the Bank briefcase winner. I'm going to make sure that your entire title run is torture. I'm going to make sure that you don't enjoy a single day of it. I'm going to make your life miserable. I'm going to taunt you. I'm going to scare you. I'm going to threaten you. And I'm going to be a constant thorn in your side. And you're never going to get a moment's peace as long as I have this briefcase. That could be fun. But as much as they could do there with Punk and Drew, where does that leave Gunther? And where does that leave Priest? If Drew beats Priest for the title, what does Priest do? What does Gunther do? I don't know. I don't know. I thought it was sad tonight when Big Head and Balor were going after the pizza titles backstage, and they walk off, and Balor kind of hangs around Priest, and he's like, oh, I wish it was me and you out there. It made me sad. He misses Priest. And Priest's like, I know, man. And then Balor's like, but you're champ. You're not going to go after the pizza belts because you're already champ. So I'll take Big Head out there and try to win the titles. I thought that was a funny little moment between the two of them. So, I'm just trying to think, long term here, or semi-short term through the summer, the 4 big players, I think, on Monday Night Raw in terms of the world championship would be Gunther, Priest, McIntyre, and Punk, and maybe even Jey Uso. But one thing I would still like to see, I brought this up a couple of times, is I would like to see an even swap trade. Nick Aldis, Adam Pearce get together behind the scenes. SmackDown gets Jey Uso. Monday Night Raw gets AJ Styles. Even trade. 1 star for another puts Jey Uso back on SmackDown next to Cody Rhodes. He's also going to be involved in the Bloodline stuff now since all that's going on over there. AJ Styles just worked with Cody at Backlash. They tore the house down in France. He's not doing anything else because him and Cody was a one-off. Send his ass to Mondays, and let's get AJ over here on Monday Night Raw and put him in the mix. Get AJ Styles and CM Punk on the same brand, too, if you did that. So I think after Saudi Arabia, that deal needs to happen on television. AJ Styles for Jey Uso. Let's make the trade. Tweet WWE, tell them to do it, because I want to see that. Hey, what's up, Zach? Good to see Zach. Good to see Lee T. Got a lot of channel members in here tonight, so thanks for hanging out, all you members. And why don't we start actually talking about stuff, since it's been nothing but chatting so far. Why don't we talk about a little bit of news first before we get into the Raw results and we start blowing through those. There is some news in AEW land regarding one of their former legend contracts that they have, or former champions, former world heavyweight champions, current legends, undercurrent deals with AEW. Mark Henry's deal is about to expire. This is according to Sean Ross Sapp, who posted on Fightful Select, I think today, about this, stating and noting that Mark Henry's contract with All Elite Wrestling expires on May 30th. So just a few more days. And I feel like he's going to wrap things up with them. I don't see any reason for him to really stick around. I like Mark Henry. I was happy that he was able to find some work over there, but I feel like he's going to come back to WWE in some form. Plus he does Busted Open Radio. I feel like Mark Henry, I'm surprised that he's in AEW, because Mark Henry reminds me a lot of a Bubba Ray or a Booker T, who just often have really dumb takes that feel very much like a towing a WWE company line. You know what I mean? And so Mark Henry, I feel like that's a better role for him, is for him to be a Bubba or a Booker T. And I think getting out of AEW, is probably what he's going to do. I think if he was going to re-up or extend any sort of contract with the company, since he's in such a limited behind-the-scenes role, that's a deal that could have easily gotten done and probably would have already been done if he had any intention of sticking around. I mean, 3 or 4 months ago, he had to know his contract's coming up, so it's not like he's like, oh shit, my contract's up next week. I wonder if I'm going to stay. He probably knows he's out the door. So best of luck to Mark Henry. If he does come back to WWE in some role, I could totally see that happening. So thought we would mention that. Also, we had a wrestling death, very sad one today. Tragic loss of John Klinger. I didn't know much about him. He was a German pro wrestler who had multiple stints in TNA. He worked for Progress Wrestling, Evolve Wrestling, among others, was pretty well traveled internationally, and did a lot of work here in North America. A lot of wrestlers currently in WWE and AEW have worked with him, crossed paths with him at some point in their careers, and have all expressed their love and sorrow for his loss. No word on the cause of death. This happened just 6 days after his 40th birthday, and he was on the verge of retirement as well. And that's a sad loss. Unfortunately, like I said, I don't have a whole lot of familiarity with him other than, you know, the little bit of footage I've seen of him in TNA. But he definitely was somebody who was well known, you know, in the biz amongst, you know, the indie wrestlers and a lot of the top stars in both companies right now. And that's a sad loss. So at least wanted to acknowledge his passing, because a lot of people today on social media were offering their condolences to his family. And that sounds like a tragic situation. We won't speculate. You know, 40 is very, very young. So when you die young like that, it does raise questions, but it's gross to do that here, especially when we don't have any information. So best wishes and condolences to his family and friends and everybody and anybody who worked with him in the business. Just wanted to acknowledge those couple of little tidbits there. And now, in terms of Raw tonight, like I said, I thought it was a really solid show, fun show. You know, Raw has just been solid lately. You know, the last couple of weeks, I felt like I could have skipped because all we're doing is kind of building to the tournament, but we still had some great wrestling last week. We had great wrestling this week, and Raw is not a chore to watch, and it feels very, very good to say that. We still have some WWE stuff. There's still some things on the show that, you know, I just kind of tune out or zone out of, or, you know, some stupid things here or there. Those are never really going to go away, but Raw used to be complete and total torture to watch. Back in 2017, I'd have to sit here, you know, and do everything I could not to jam this pen into my eyeball and give myself a homemade lobotomy, because it was nonsense and it was hard to watch. It was stupid, and it was a waste of time, and it was literally a chore. It hurt to watch the show. It's not like that anymore. Even with Raw, even when you get like kind of a not so great one, it's still pretty solid. And, you know, the fan enthusiasm has been much better in the last, you know, couple of years, especially the last year. Fan attendance is way up, and the crowds are hot again, which feels great. Raw tonight, by the way, was in Greensboro, North Carolina. I have attended many Raws in that building myself, including the very first This Is Your Life with Mick Foley and The Rock. I was right there on the floor. I had floor seats for that whole thing. And this is where Revolution just was a couple months ago with Darby Allin taking the big glass bump off the ladder. So good to see Raw back in my old stompings of Greensboro, Khaki Lackey. We opened up with a Sami Zayn promo. He came out to talk about his triple threat match at Saudi Arabia for the IC title against Gable and Bronson Reed. He vows to win in Saudi Arabia, and I think we're all expecting him to. And then Chad Gable comes out with the Alpha Academy. Gable's got, you know, a little boxing robe on. I'm loving Gable in this role. He's doing great. I think this does need to eventually result in him winning the Intercontinental Championship. I just don't think it's going to be happening at Saudi Arabia, which is why we got the match we got tonight. I think Gable is going to win the IC, but not Saturday. No way. So he's out there with Alpha Academy, and he runs them all down. He goes, Sammy, I've been too nice to you, and I've been too nice to these 3 clowns behind me. And he proceeds to run them all down individually. And then Sami Zayn interrupts him, tells them shut up, and says, why don't we just have a match right now? You're in your gear, I'm in my gear. Let's do it. Gable obliges, gets in the ring. We have the match. I think we would go to commercial. We come back, and it's Chad Gable versus Sami Zayn, one-on-one non-title match here. Now, during the match, I think Gable tosses Sammy to the outside, and he instructs Maxine and Tozawa to cheat for him, to attack Sami Zayn, and they refuse. So Gable does, this is actually kind of funny, Gable does the whole referee thing, you're out of here, and he throws his own people out of the ringside area, but this is not an official ejection. He's not a referee, and he ejects them from ringside, and then they listen to him, and they leave, and Otis sticks around, though. So after he throws out the poor Tozawa and poor Maxine out of the ringside area, he then eats a blue thunder bomb and kicks out of that, and then he is tossed out of the ring in front of Otis. And when he's tossed out of the ring, we get that glitch again. We get the screen glitching, and we go to commercial. So another QR code came up on the screen. Apparently, when you go to that QR code, it reveals the coordinates for Rowan University. So that tells you all you need to know there. We know Eric Rowan has re-signed with the company. We know he's going to be a part of this Uncle Howdy storyline. So that was a pretty direct reference and a hint right there that Rowan's going to be coming in. Still not sure when we're going to see the debut of the Uncle Howdy stuff. I don't think we really need to see it at King of the Ring in Saudi Arabia. I would not debut it there. I have very bad memories of anything Bray Wyatt ever did in Saudi Arabia, to be honest. So I don't want that association. I feel like Clash at the Castle or even Money in the Bank. Or if you really want to stretch at SummerSlam, but then you're talking 2 or 3 more months of these QR codes, and come on. I think that's a little bit much. So I feel like we're going to get it sometime between now and SummerSlam. And I don't know if that debut is going to be something that we're going to know about ahead of time. Like if we're going to get a QR code one night that says next Monday or something like that. We probably will. Or if they're going to save it for a pay-per-view when there's a championship match, like are they going to interfere in a championship match? Is Uncle Howdy going to be like in the main event picture here? Like what are they going to do? And even in the Bray Wyatt documentary, that big, wonderful 2-hour bit they did on him, one of the things Triple H said and talked about, and it was well known and documented, online too with Bray Wyatt, is that he was almost too creative for his own good. And Triple H, said, he's had all these ideas, all these crazy ideas, but and they're all great. He goes, problem is, ding, 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 what happens then? How does that translate to in the ring? So I'm curious, if that's something that's been very, that's something that's weighing heavily on their mind, whatever we do and however nuts we want to get with this character, with this storyline, make sure that it is something that can effectively translate into the ring. Otherwise, you're just a movie or something. So I'm curious how this is all going to go, and when Uncle Howdy and I guess what could be the Wyatt Six, if there's going to be a faction involved here, which feels like it's gonna, how off the rails it's going to get, how, I don't know, supernatural it's going to get, how many magic tricks are we going to get, because you got to be careful with that stuff. You don't want it to be too hokey. Luckily Undertaker and Kane were so badass, you could almost forget about how goddamn stupid the storyline was. Kane killed the parents, then Undertaker killed the parents. Then it was revealed that Undertaker killed the parents on purpose. Then you brought the corpses out to Monday Night Raw and somebody gets choke slammed into the corpse of your own father. Then it's revealed that Paul Bearer is Kane's father. I mean, my God, it was all over the place. So I feel like if they can try to contain it to where it doesn't get overly silly, then I'm excited to see how this angle, this group, and this character that's now going to be operating a lot as a tribute to Bray Wyatt is presented and comes across on TV. Because we don't want this to bomb. This is going to be in the spirit of Bray Wyatt, somebody we just lost less than a year ago. Very, very abrupt, shocking death at a young age, and the wound is not closed in the fans yet, much less his own family, who's going to be a part of this angle. So I just really want whatever they do to be good, because now it's not like before where I was, always a big fan of Bray Wyatt, but, when he came back last year or a year ago, whatever it was, 2 years ago, and a lot of that stuff was moving a little too slow for us. I'm like, is he ever going to say anything? And then before we know it, we were into the Mountain Dew fuckboy match at Royal Rumble, and I just completely lost interest. I'm like, okay, I'm over it now. This is just too silly. He came back. It was awesome, but he's cut two months of promos not saying anything. Now he's working with LA Knight. Now he's having a soda pop match. It was just, ugh. So, but at least he was still alive, Now in his passing, whatever we do that's going to have the spirit of Bray Wyatt involved, it has to be good. I don't want it to suck. I don't want our memories of the last memories we have of Bray Wyatt to be thought of negatively, I want it to be something that works. So I'm hoping that behind the scenes, they got a great plan for these guys, but don't know when they're going to show up or not, but I guess it's probably going to be pretty soon. So anyway, that was the glitch we got in the commercial break. We come back, and now Chad Gable is back outside the ring with Otis, and he slaps the shit out of Otis, just slaps him. Otis is really kind of hesitant to do any damage to Sammy. Gable, has been giving all of his stablemates a lot of crap lately. So after he just sent out Tozawa and Maxine, he slaps Otis right in the face. You could see the hurt in Otis's eyes there, and then the match continues, and Otis still gets up on the apron. I think he jumps up on the apron and he nails Sami Zayn, allowing Chad Gable to hit his Chaos Theory for the win, and Otis helped Chad Gable win. So Gable celebrates. He's very happy. Otis looks remorseful, extremely remorseful, like he didn't want to do it. So, it's only a matter of time before this whole thing implodes, and I think that's going to happen really, really soon. So Gable did get the pinfall victory over Intercontinental Champion Sami Zayn there, which I think was a good move. You know how, we always say, I don't like champions being pinned. That is usually the case, but there are times when it's okay. This is an instance here where it's okay. Now, I didn't see anybody bitching online. I hate it when champions get pinned. Hopefully they weren't, because I think that's another blanket opinion that just doesn't apply to every situation. There are plenty of times where I've come up here, you guys have said, pinning champions is stupid. There are plenty of times when, yes, that does apply. This isn't one of them, man. Because Gable is trying to tell a story here. We're all hoping that Gable can get back to that Intercontinental title. And since he's not going to do it on Saturday, Sami Zayn is going to win, and he's going to retain the title on Saturday. This gives you a reason to revisit the one-on-one match between the two after the fact. So I think maybe at Clash at the Castle or something like that, we get another IC match between Sami and Gable. Or you really stretch it and you do this at SummerSlam. You could do that. But I think Gable, he's starting to get that you suck treatment from the fans that Kurt Angle got. I think he's doing a great job with this character. And as long as they don't stretch out the Alpha Academy stuff too much, at some point he's got to disown all of them. And maybe they play a role. I mean, if they're all going, if they all have to make that flight, God, I would hate to be Tozawa and Maxine and Otis and know that I got to fly all the way over there just to do a run-in. I'm like, God, I would make something up. I'm faking injury just to get out of making that trip. Like, God, don't maybe put me on 2 flights, both about 15 hours each, just to run out there for 15 seconds and do a run-in. God. But they probably will. But if they do show up in the triple threat and they cost Gable, maybe that's the final straw. And then on Monday, 1 week from tonight, we get Gable completely ditching all of them. And I did like the idea of the Creed brothers joining with Gable. Now, if they can make that transition and Gable disowns the Alpha Academy and then he links up with the Creed brothers and then he becomes Intercontinental Champion and he's got them backing him up, that could be a good looking crew. So I'm hoping that that's what is being set in motion here. Gable getting the win tonight now sets up an opportunity for these two guys to go at it again for the title after Sami retains on Saturday, and we can still get that story told. So it's just a matter of, Sami Zayn beating Gunther was great. I don't need him to have a year-long run with the Intercontinental title or anything, but, at the same time, dropping in June, is that a little bit early? Maybe it is. Maybe it is, but another thing I might argue too, or not argue, another thing I might suggest with Sami Zayn and Chad Gable is whenever you do that match again, whenever you do the match that Chad Gable is going to win the Intercontinental title in, do it on Raw. Do it on Raw, main event. And not a pay-per-view. That would be great. One more match. Maybe that's where the Creed brothers debut. Maybe the previous week Gable just disowns his whole crew. And then he's got to go in there against Sammy the next week on Raw for the championship in the main event. The announcers are like, Gable's going to go down. He's got nobody to back him up now. He's got no choice but to face Sami Zayn one-on-one, and Gable knows he can't get it done. And they're going to basically treat the match that as a given that Sami Zayn is going to be able to defeat him, and then the Creeds come out and help him win. Something like that might be fun. I'd be totally into that match happening on Monday Night Raw. Some of these matches now, they don't need to be on pay-per-view. They can just be on the main event of Raw because we've had some good ones. And I'm loving the trend. I'm loving the trend of the special entrances for main events. We've been getting them every week. The long, intro from backstage into the building. We got it with Sammy a few weeks ago. Jey Uso tonight. Love it. Good stuff. Almost makes you frustrated that Kevin Dunn didn't leave sooner. You know what I mean? So after the Gable and Sammy match, we cut backstage, and Alpha Academy is being interviewed by Jackie Redmond, but they can't really say much. Gable's about to shit on everybody some more, and there's a big commotion, and Jackie's like, I'm sorry, guys, we got to go with this, and they run off. It's better than Kevin Dunn, but it's still a little, So they rush off to see what the commotion is, and I guess Cruz del Toro had gotten beaten up. Mysterio, LWO's out there. Oh, what the fuck? So he gets attacked, and they're under the assumption that Carlito is behind this attack. Then we go to the ring, and it's time for a squash match. Bron Breakker, and I saw help me out here. Am I crazy? I saw people mentioning tonight that this was his debut. I thought we've seen him wrestle since the draft on Raw. Hasn't he come in and squashed somebody already? I thought he did. Anyway, Bron Breakker tonight faced a feller named Kale Dixon. Never heard of him. Apparently, he's an NXT developmental kid. He's going to have to eat a lot of kale to heal his body after what happened to him, because Bron Breakker broke him in half. Broke him with 2 Ks. Oh my God, I hate Bron Breakker's name so bad. I hate even saying it. It makes me so mad to see that name. It's so fucking stupid, because he's such an imposing and intimidating wrestler. He's got so much energy. And I don't know what that song he comes out to, his theme music, but my brain hears Symphony of Destruction by Megadeth. That's what my brain hears. It sounds like it's got the same beat. Dun, 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 dun. And he comes down to the ring, and he's just super intense. He runs the ring ropes at 255 miles an hour, and he just destroyed this kid with a spear right off the bat. And then he throws him to the outside of the ring, and he almost does like a Braun Strowman train thing. He kind of gets a running start about halfway around the ring, comes around the other side, and spears this kid into oblivion right on the floor. Then he throws him back in the ring, spears him again, and the referee just has to stop the match. I think the match is just over. You've killed this kid. It's over. And that's when Breakker launches a vicious attack on his already dead opponent, throws him on the outside of the ring, takes apart the stairs, sticks the kid's head in the steps, and just railroad spikes it with a ladder, just a concerto, I guess you would call it, and just spikes the kid's face into the steps with the chair, splattering his brains like a jar of pickles. Out comes Adam Pearce. Out comes the EMTs, the stretcher. Pearce is yelling at Breakker, and they wheel this kid out. And we might go to commercial. I can't remember. I think we go to commercial and we come back, and they're wheeling the kid. I thought they were going to do the thing where Breakker was going to be in the driver's seat of the ambulance. Hello, Austin, or whatever. And they're wheeling the kid into the ambulance. And as they're doing that, the NXT chick that got drafted, what's her name? I wrote it down because I never remember. Kiana James. So she comes up to Pearce as he's frantically rushing with the stretcher. Pearce, I'm here. Let me know what I can do to help. And he goes, I appreciate it, but we're good right now. Like, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean? You're a wrestler. Go to catering, eat a salad. There's nothing you can do here, Kiana James. So I like that she's trying to like get involved and like help out, which is kind of funny. If that's going to be her gimmick and her character, she's going to, kind of like how Chelsea Green was kind of associated with Adam Pearce a little bit, and she was always complaining to him. Maybe this is going to be the opposite of that, where Chelsea Green always wanted to speak to the manager and air her grievances to Adam Pearce. Maybe Kiana is going to try to be someone like a brown noser, or someone who follows her around, or, tries to offer too much help type of thing where she becomes an annoyance or a nuisance to Adam Pearce. But that was kind of funny how she ran up to him like, what can I do to help? He's like, get the fuck out of the way. So then Pearce sees Bron Breakker. He yells at Bron, and Bron reminds him that it's all his fault. The reason he's doing this is because you didn't put me in the King of the Ring, which I think is fucking weird because it's the King of the Ring. It's not like anything, Bron Breakker. You're going to have lots of other opportunities. You're going to be King of the Ring next year. There's going to be a Royal Rumble coming up in a few months. You'll get title shots out the ass. Not getting an opportunity at the King of the Ring is not something that's going to derail your career. You're going to be fine. Have you seen yourself? Have you met you? You're pretty badass. I think you're going to be fine, Mr. Breakker. So he wouldn't be done either. He would later on, he spears Ricochet backstage. So Ricochet is just having a casual chat with Ilya Dragunov. And then you see Ricochet's face, his eyes kind of open up, and Bron comes in and spears him through the production crates, and they all fall and spill on top of him. And I am wondering when he's going to hit Adam Pearce, and if that's the direction they're going. I was also wondering if they were perhaps setting up Bron Breakker getting involved in the main event. I'm like, he seems pissed about the King of the Ring. And, you know, for example, if WWE wanted Jey Uso and Tama Tonga to be the finals, you know, maybe this is a way to protect Gunther by not having him lose clean, get Bron Breakker out there messing with the main event in some way, allowing Jey Uso to capitalize somehow. And maybe Bron Breakker doesn't intend to screw Gunther specifically. It just works out that way. I thought they might be setting up for that, but sounds like he's just going on a rampage. And tell me here too, Bron Breakker is a heel, right? Can you take an innocent kid and splatter his brains on some steps and be a babyface? Does that still work? Is that still possible? I kind of think it makes you a heel, and he's spearing Ricochet. Feels like he's doing heel shit to me. So I kind of thought Breakker was going to kind of be babyface, but it sounds like they're going heel with him, which having two monster heels on the same show is wild with Bron Breakker and Gunther. You could maybe even factor McIntyre into that, but Breakker and Gunther both, you know, kind of being these unstoppable heel forces is pretty crazy. I almost have to wonder if Gunther could go face, you know? That might be a little too early for that, but fans appreciate him, and I think it would be pretty easy to execute on TV to get you there. So having Breakker and Gunther both being extremely powerful forces to be reckoned with on Raw is going to be interesting to see them parallel and coexist on that same brand. So I'm kind of liking what they're doing with Breakker. I like that he's nuts because he's a Steiner. I wish his name was just Rex Steiner, the way it's supposed to be, because he is a lot like them. He's completely off his fucking rocker, and he's even, you know, he can match Scott and Rick's intensity so well, and he maybe even exceeds it in a lot of ways. So I'm if it weren't for that name of his, man, I'd be even more excited to see what he does on Monday Night Raw. Then we have the Queen of the Ring semifinal match. Winner of this goes to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia to face the winner of Nia Jax and Bianca Belair. And my predictions for the women's Queen of the Ring have been some of the worst predictions I've ever made in the history of me making predictions. I have literally gotten everything wrong in this whole bracket. I've done pretty well with the men, but the women, I was all up my own ass on that one. I didn't know what was going on. I was kind of thinking that it was originally Jade Cargill would be the winner of this thing. But then Bianca Belair advanced last week on SmackDown before Jade Cargill's match. And I'm like, oh, well, they didn't give us Gunther and Ilya Dragunov in the semifinals, which would have been awesome, but I can understand why they wanted to hold that off. Same goes for Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. It'd be awesome if we got that on free SmackDown TV. Great. Who am I to complain about a first time ever match or a dream match that a lot of us have wanted to see? But if I'm WWE, I might be holding off on that one, you know? So as soon as Bianca beat Tiffany, I thought Tiffany was going to be going to the finals, or at least going to the semifinals. When Bianca beat Tiffany, I'm like, oh, I'm all wrong then, because Jade They're not going to do Jade and Bianca now. So that means Nia Jax is going to have to beat Jade Cargill. They did kind of a shitty finish to get there, but at least it protected Jade. And now it's Nia Jax and Bianca Belair on SmackDown. So same thing with the Raw side of things. I had this all wrong. I thought it was going to be Io Sky going to the finals. And here she faced Lyra Valkyria. I still don't know how to say that. It's another, speaking of bad names like Braun Breaker, like Dolph Ziggler, like The Big Show, throw Lyra Valkyria on the list. I hate the name. It's dumb. Why do they have to be like this? Why do these names have to be like that? I think of Tyra Valkyrie, who I'm conflating these two, and it's confusing for an old man like me. And plus, the name is so dumb. Why can't her name just be Jennifer Jones or something? Not that simple, but you know what I mean? Just something a little bit easier. Lyra Valkyria. You sound like a comic book character. And I know a lot of wrestlers have comic book era or comic book auras to them, and their characters are much like real life live action comic book characters. But come on. This name is awful. I hate it. So I was really rooting for Io Sky here. Io Sky I like. Lyra is a good little worker, but there's nothing about her, at least right now, for me as a fan, that's standing out. You know, so far when I've watched her in the ring, she's fine. Totally fine. But ain't nothing about her that just really commands, my attention. She doesn't have that presence or anything. Maybe that'll grow. Maybe it's there. I'm just blind. She has been working in NXT. She's a former champion there. She's under the learning tree of Shawn Michaels, and he saw enough in her to send her to prime time. So it's probably in there. It's just, she seems kind of like an unremarkable type of wrestler, just kind of a standard wrestler. And I don't know, just not hitting with me. But she's going all the way to the finals of the Queen of the Ring. And now, since she won tonight, and I wasn't expecting her to, when Bianca advanced last week, I thought to myself, well, they're just going to give Bianca the Queen of the Ring. Now I'm not so sure about that either. I think both of my picks are going to be wrong. Now I think, or at least for the women, I was thinking that, or both of my picks for the finalists, I should say, for the women, are going to be wrong. I was thinking it would be, at first, Io Sky and Jade Cargill. Then I thought it might be Io Sky and Tiffany Stratton. And then when Bianca advanced, I was thinking, oh, it's just going to be Bianca Belair now. It's Bianca's crown to win. She's not really in the title mix right now, and it gives the Saudi Arabia crowd a really, over babyface top star in WWE to win this accolade. But now I'm starting to think it's going to be Nia Jax. And Nia Jax is going to beat Bianca Belair on Friday. Now, that would make sense. Her winning and losing would make sense. Her losing would make sense because she's currently tag team champions with Jade Cargill. This, now there's no distraction there for her to win the Queen of the Ring and have another singles accolade while being tag team champs. You might argue that could be a distraction, or maybe that's going to be done on purpose to kind of plant seeds of an inevitable issue between those two women. But also, her winning could make sense as well because of the finish that we saw between Nia and Jade on SmackDown. So Jade and Nia ended with that steel chair crap. So you could have Jade Cargill out there making sure that Bianca Belair beats Nia Jax. Maybe Nia Jax tries some shady shit again this week like she did last week, but Jade is out there to stop her, and then Bianca puts her down and advances. But I'm starting to kind of root for Nia Jax now. I kind of hope Nia Jax wins the Queen of the Ring. I can't believe I'm saying that. But if it's Nia Jax and Lyra, that would be, I think, a good match, because it would be a mismatch for one, giant and small. And Lyra would be, the underdog. She'd be fighting hard, but ultimately the bigger, stronger, badder Nia Jax puts her down. And Nia Jax is also a great heel. She's been doing so well upon her return to the company. I can't stop saying enough good things about her because I was never a fan of Nia Jax. She did nothing for me. I didn't really enjoy her as a performer on the mic, in the ring. Her character, nothing about her at all was enjoyable to me to watch until this latest return. Until Triple H is like, I'll show you how it's done, idiots. And she's brilliant. Now she's brilliant. Now I want to see her win the Queen of the Ring. I think it would be awesome if she joined the Bloodline. You got to get over to SmackDown to do that. Or no, she's on SmackDown. She's already on SmackDown, so she's right there. I would have Nia Jax join the Bloodline, Queen Nia. And even if she doesn't join the Bloodline, her rocking the Queen gimmick might be pretty fun. She's pretty obnoxious, and I think she might make that great. That would give us, however, though, 2 heels winning the Queen and King of the Ring in Saudi Arabia. Is that what WWE wants to give to that audience? That means baby faces are going to have to win everything else. Cody is going to beat Logan Paul. We know that. Sami Zayn is going to retain his title. And, you know, a lot of us are expecting Liv Morgan to win the title there too. So that would be a heel-heavy pay-per-view in terms of the victors. If Liv Morgan beats Becky Lynch, Gunther wins the King of the Ring, and Nia Jax wins the Queen of the Ring. I mean, Cody and Sami, that's a lot of babyface power right there. So their 2 victories might be enough to balance that out, unless they add another match. You know, we did see, I don't know how they're going to do that though. We did see the Fatal 4-Way tonight for the tag team titles, the women's tag team titles. If Bianca loses on Friday night, could they book a women's tag team title match for the pay-per-view? It was Zoe and Shayna winning tonight. We're going to talk about that match in a second. Could they book Zoe and Shayna against Jade and Bianca at the pay-per-view and do that as late as Friday? I don't know. We probably won't see it at the pay-per-view, but if they did and they threw that match on there, that would give another victory to babyfaces with Jade and Bianca. I don't know. What do you guys think about the balance of the King and Queen of the Ring? Are we going to get 2 heels winning? I'm kind of thinking it still could very well be Bianca Belair. I'm hoping it's Nia Jax at this point, but them giving it to Bianca, I could totally see, because you have to think about the audience. They're about to extend their deal with Saudi Arabia, by the way. So the 10-year deal that they're currently right in the middle of is going to extend, and they're going to be doing business with Saudi Arabia for years and years to come, which sucks, but it's the reality of it. And there's been chatter of a Royal Rumble or a WrestleMania heading over there. I hope WrestleMania never does, but a Royal Rumble, I think, is definitely possible. So that's what's going on with the Queen of the Ring. Lyra Valkyria advances, and she'll face the winner of Nia Jax and Bianca Belair on Saturday. We cut backstage to Awesome Truth. They've got to defend their pizzas against Judgment Day later on. But Truth said that he placed a phone call to Andre the Giant, who just celebrated his 78th birthday yesterday. And he says Andre the Giant has his back, has got their backs tonight. And then Miz says, didn't you know that Andre passed away like 30 years ago? Past what? So Awesome Truth, or R-Truth, thinks that Andre the Giant has their backs tonight. That was awesome. Then we are backstage with Judgment Day in their little clubhouse. Carlito and Dom are playing darts. And Priest shows up and he thanks Carlito for what he did to Cruz, but reminds him that they're not the APA. They're not his protection agency. He's kind of hanging out in their clubhouse until, the smoke clears and, he can make his getaway. But Priest says, you're welcome here today, but not forever. So he's still taking his time warming up to Carlito. And then Balor and Big Head are heading out to their championship match. And that's when Balor mentions to Priest that he's sad that it's not Priest and him out there tonight. I did not write down because I didn't see it. I know there was a McIntyre backstage quick little interview. Didn't catch what he said, but I'm sure it was something about Priest and CM Punk. And then we cut back to Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, who are walking through the backstage area, and they are stopped and interrupted by a returning Sonya Deville, who's been out for about 9 months. And it was great to see her back. She wanted to talk to them, but they kind of declined and walked away. But just having Sonya back and in front of our faces is kind of great. I hope that they do something with her this time. She's had a rough couple of years, man. So I hope that Sonya can get back on track. And it was great to see her. So welcome back to Ville. Then it's time for the tag team title match. I thought we might see a title change here. I was kind of hoping we were, but it was not to be. Awesome Truth did wind up beating JD McDonough and Finn Balor. Carlito did come out to try to help out Judgment Day, but then he was stopped by Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman came out to even up the odds. That is the Giant that R-Truth was talking about when he said he texted Andre the Giant. What he means was Andre the Strowman, and Strowman came out to even up the odds, and R-Truth hit an attitude adjustment, the move of his childhood hero, John Cena, onto JD for the win, and Awesome Truth retains the pizza titles, and I'm ready for them to drop them. I'm ready for them to lose those titles. We are then backstage where Sami Zayn is hanging out, and he's confronted by Bronson Reed, who of course thinks he's going to win the Intercontinental title this Saturday in Saudi Arabia, which he is not. He leaves, and that's when Otis shows up. Sami Zayn doesn't want anything to do with him. Otis is very sad. He apologizes. I'm sorry. And then Sami is like, you know what? I know you're sorry. You're a good guy. Chad Gable is not good for you, and is trying to talk Otis out or talk Otis into dumping Chad Gable for good. And I think we're really close to that happening. Probably 1 week from tonight, next Monday, that's going to all go down. That's what I suspect. Then we are back in the ring for a Becky Lynch promo. The man comes out with her title. Liv Morgan, this was such a predictable thing. As soon as Liv Morgan came out there, and she only came out to the stage or the ramp, and she didn't like get in the ring, I was like, okay, so what they're going to do, they're going to exchange some words. Becky's going to challenge her to a fight. She's going to pretend to run in and then stop and be like, psych, haha, and then walk away. It's exactly what they did. So even with Kevin Dunn gone, even with Vince McMahon gone, you're still going to have formulaic aspects to the show where segments are just plugged in, same ones, same situations, plugged into stuff. But you could see this coming from the minute she walked out there and stopped halfway down the aisleway. I'm like, well, if she's not going to get in the ring, she's going to do that thing that they all do. And then she did it. It was pretty funny. So it was just your standard segment there. And, you know, I kind of agree with the fans who feel like Morgan is potentially going to win the title here. But if we have Gunther and Nia Jax winning the King and Queen crowns, then that's a lot of heels winning on that show. So I'm not totally sure now. And I'm still not totally sure that it's going to be Nia Jax anyway. Could still very well be Bianca Belair winning the Queen. But Liv winning the championship, I feel like she kind of needs to be champion when Rhea Ripley comes back. So if she doesn't win it here, maybe they find a way for Becky to beat her, but then they run a rematch, maybe on Raw in 1 week, and Liv wins the title on Raw instead of in Jeddah. That could happen. That could be a good way to balance it out. It could. Gunther and Nia Jax win the crowns, but then Cody, and Sammy and Becky all retain their championships. I think that would be a good balance. And then you could come back here to the States, and then on Raw, something could happen in that match. Maybe the turnbuckle pad falls off and Liv slips and gets pinned, and she's mad and thinks she deserves another shot. And this time she has a trick up her sleeve, and she's able to screw Becky out of the title and win the championship. And then Becky can go back home and chill with Seth until he's ready to come back. And then Liv can continue her revenge tour. And then boom, you have Rhea Ripley coming back, and you got your thing with them. So we'll see if Morgan winds up winning the title at the pay-per-view or not. But I feel like she kind of has to in my mind. So we will see. I don't know if they're maybe going to do something different with Xavier Woods and the New Day, because Kofi Kingston and Xavier were hanging out back in the trainer's room, and the doctor is messing with Xavier's knee. He goes, all right, you're good to go. You're cleared. And they're like, yeah. And then Kofi's like, I'm out of here. I'm going to go talk to Adam Pearce about some opportunities. Since you are cleared, you're good to go. And he's probably going to go talk to him about a tag title shot or whatever. And he leaves, and Karrion Kross and Scarlett show up, and they get in Xavier's face, and Cross says something like, there's always more time to turn things around or whatever. And I'm like, huh. Xavier is a big video game player. I know he's into a lot of that fantasy crap. Could Xavier Woods join the New Testament or the Final Testament, whatever it's called? Maybe. He might be an interesting fit. I think Xavier joining the Final Testament would be a lot like Owen Hart joining the Nation. All you need is Xavier to get like yellow and black road sign gear. Be hilarious. I think he'd be like, it would be like a tribute to Owen, like an indirect tribute to Owen Hart. Just somebody who just seems out of place. He's a completely different type of character than what the Final Testament is pushing. He's more happy and very colorful and very lively and energetic and charismatic with the New Day, transitioning to something dark, and very, serious and sinister. Could be a fun transition to see him make, I think. I'd like to see him try. But they might be planting the seed for something there. I'm not sure. And then after that, we had the Fatal 4-Way to determine the new number one contenders for the women's tag team titles. This was Zoe and Shayna against Caden and the other one, against Maxine and Ivy Nile, and Dakota Kai and Kairi Sane. Kairi Sane. Yes, Shayna and Zoe got the win. They hit their finisher on Maxine. So they are the new number one contenders. Zoe and Shayna taking on Bianca and Jade is going to be a fun match because they're all badasses. Just not sure when that's actually going to happen and if they're going to do it on a pay-per-view or television. We will see. But we might get Jade and Bianca on Raw next week defending those titles. They might be on Raw next week. Very well could be. It gets Bianca and Jade over on Raw, which is the point of floating champions. And that left us with the main event, which we've already talked about a lot. Cruise back here to the chat, get myself reset. Joe, people lost their minds when Ilya lost, and they are also losing their minds over Lyra. So whether you put over NXT call-ups or not, you're wrong. I love wrestling fans. Yeah, they're all over the place. They can't decide. They need to pick a lane, really, because they constantly contradict some of their own perceived beliefs. And sometimes I'm just like, don't overthink it. Just enjoy the show. I've been watching wrestling forever. But I wouldn't have lost my mind if Jey Uso won tonight. I'm like, oh, I guess they're going in that direction. Kind of wanted to see Gunther and Orton, but this will be good too. Sometimes they make stupid and dumb decisions, but I think things are so good right now. They're even complaining about things that aren't even really problems, and whatnot. Dragunov losing to Jey Uso, somebody that's been on top of the card and had a lot of big time pay-per-view matches and top storylines in the company for years now, beating this NXT call-up that eventually is going to be a huge star, don't get me wrong, but beating him early like this, they basically think it's the same thing as Jeff Hardy beating Karrion Kross. They think it's like that. I'm like, it's not like that. It's not like that at all. It's completely different universes, and not every one of those situations applies to every win and loss, you know what I mean? And I don't think that loss is going to do anything to damage Dragunov in the long run, but fans live in the moment. They're like our pets. Yeah, no memory. They just live in the moment. That's what the fans do. So they get themselves riled up sometimes for no reason when there's really nothing to be riled up about. Danny from Oak Park has got $2. I'm too old, bro. Well, yeah, me too. I feel you, man. We all old. Joe, no problem. I love reading comments. 777 Matt. Yeah, I know. I know how they all are. They love to be recreationally outraged. I'm just going to get mad about this. I'm like, all right, kind of a waste of time, but you do you. Whatevs. All right, so we are now down to the main event of Raw tonight. Gunther taking on Jey Uso. Winner of this advances to Saudi Arabia to face the winner of Randy Orton and Tama Tonga, which will be taking place on Friday. So I thought, like I mentioned earlier, everything they were setting up with Bron Breakker earlier, I'm like, could he come in here? Is he going to have something to do with this match? He's pissed that he wasn't in the King of the Ring. He's murdering anybody that sneezes wrong backstage. So could he jump into this match and maybe inadvertently cost one of these guys the match, and that's one way to protect Gunther. I thought that was a real possibility for a while here, but in the end, it did turn out to be Gunther. Great match here. I loved it. Another good example of like these Raw main events. Raw main events lately have been solid. They've been doing a great job of promoting them throughout the evening. It feels like every one of these Raw main events now is getting like that special, long shot entrance, from backstage as you come into the arena, and how, and granted, this stuff could get old too. This is all new and fresh to us now, but if they are still using this exact same technique the exact same way for the next 15 years straight, it is going to get old too, just like everything Kevin Dunn did got old. But it is still so refreshing and just nice and fresh to see wrestling being somewhat presented differently. All you need is different angles there. And as happy as we all are for these positive changes, in a lot of ways, it kind of frustrates you too, because it makes you wish that we would have gotten Kevin Dunn's ass out of here years ago. Imagine if wrestling could have gotten good 8-9 years ago instead of having to wait as long as we did for it. It kind of makes me mad, but I'm happy that things are better now, and Jey Uso's entrance is spectacular. That's why I think having him take all these losses here, he could easily be reborn if you just do that trade with SmackDown. Jey Uso for AJ Styles. Make the trade. Jey Uso's over there. Fresh environment. Same for AJ. And then Jey Uso's over there to be a part of that bloodline angle. And you got Nia Jax over there. And you could really make this thing fun. And I think that would be a good idea. But here it was going to be just Gunther and Jey Uso one-on-one. We did not get Bron Breakker interfering in this. We didn't get Ludwig Kaiser interfering in this. Nobody on Jey Uso's behalf. It was just a straight match, and it was a good match. And in the end, the ref took a little bit of a minor bump. He kind of got like whacked in the back of the head inadvertently, and he went down. And that allowed Jey Uso to hit the Uso splash onto Gunther, and there was just a little bit of a hesitation there to pin him, and hesitation of the referee coming to from the minor little bump he took, and that allowed Gunther to kick out. Gunther then recovered, and I'm looking at the time here, and we're like 1 minute until the top of the hour, and Jey Uso was still in control. I'm like, man, they got to wrap things up quick or go to an overrun here, and Gunther was able to take back control and locked in, a sleeper, kind of a modified sleeper choke type of thing. Didn't recognize the move. He just had a hold of Jey, and he was putting him to sleep. And Jey did a great job selling. He really did look like he was out. And referee didn't even do the 3 drops. He just lifted his arm once, and it just crumpled like a wet noodle. And the ref just immediately called for the bell and stopped the match. And Gunther puts Jey to sleep literally and advances to the finals of the King of the Ring. And the show went off the air abruptly after that. Not much of a celebration for Gunther because they were out of time, but Gunther does advance, and that makes me happy. I was hoping that he would. I want to see Gunther and Randy Orton. That's just a sexy match. It really is. Just on paper, that is going to be a good one. And if we couldn't get Gunther, and Brock Lesnar like we thought we were going to get at WrestleMania, Gunther and Randy Orton might be the next best thing. And earlier on, when I was speculating about what Gunther is going to do if he wins the King of the Ring, because if McIntyre and Damian Priest are doing their thing at Clash at the Castle, and CM Punk is probably going to be involved in that, Gunther now has just won the King of the Ring. The person he beat is a SmackDown star. So it's not like he can continue his issue with him unless Randy Orton shows up on Raw next week and they do another match, maybe. Or maybe challenges him to a pay-per-view or Clash at the Castle, inter-promotional match. Clash at the Castle. There's no brand split when they're in different area codes. It's not cheating if you're in different area codes or different countries. So maybe Gunther wins the match at the King of the Ring, wins the finals, beats Randy Orton, but does so, maybe cheats a little bit, maybe holds the rope and gets a pin or does something that makes Randy Orton want a rematch. And since everybody is probably on the same flight anyway, coming back, they're all going to be available for Monday Night Raw. Randy Orton could come out, challenge Gunther to a match at Clash at the Castle. And it's Randy Orton and Gunther at the Clash. We could see that. But if we don't, what does Gunther do? Next week, he's going to have to do one of two things. Call out a champion, which I don't see how he can really do that if Priest and McIntyre already have their thing, unless he calls out the winner, or somebody's going to have to interrupt him. And do you think it could be Brock? Do you think Gunther could, I beat the legend Randy Orton, or, maybe Gunther, maybe they want to line up someone else. Maybe Gunther calls out Brock Lesnar and we do Gunther and Brock at SummerSlam. There has been talk about Brock maybe coming back. I wouldn't touch him right now if I'm WWE, but I don't think you really need him, but you could see that. Or, maybe Gunther calls out John Cena or something. But I'm basically curious 1 week from tonight on Raw, what Gunther is going to do. I know it seems minor. Who cares? Good mic work. He could just come out there and give a victory speech and leave. You're right, he could, but he's not going to have any storyline direction. Nobody's working with. So I feel like they're going to have to at least set something up. Otherwise, he's just going to come out there and say, I'm the king, and then he's going to leave. Okay, fine. Then what does he do next week? So I feel like next week, we have to get some sort of an idea of Gunther's next program. Or if they're going to find a way to have one more match with Randy Orton at Clash at the Castle. It's got to be one of those two things. But you would think after winning the King of the Ring, Gunther's character would immediately, want to call out the champion. Perhaps Seth Rollins, Gunther could say, hey, I'm the king now. I want a shot at the championship. I am the next in line for the title. And then Rollins comes out and says, I don't think so, son. I just got done holding that title and went through the war of my life at WrestleMania. If anybody's getting the first shot, it's me. And then you got Gunther and Seth, maybe. I don't know. But I feel like something's got to give next week. We have to have a new thing for Gunther to do once he turns out to be King of the Ring, unless they want to take it slow and he's somehow interrupted by Vinci next week and they do a quick match between those two or something. I don't know. We will see. Anything can happen in the WWF, right? Yeah, Zane, Gunther versus Cody Rhodes, but how do you get to that? I mean, separate brands. I know the separate brands isn't really a barrier. They can get around that barrier if they really wanted. But I don't see a path for Cody and Gunther right now. Oh, I keep forgetting about Bash at Berlin, Juliet. When is that? Let's look this up. When is Bash at Berlin? Oh, August 31st. Okay. August 31st, Berlin, Germany. Whew. Crowning Gunther there, huh? I mean, who would he face? It's got to be the World Heavyweight Champion. It's got to be McIntyre, or how does Punk fit into this? Punk winning the Money in the Bank, I still think would be fun. And help me out too with the Money in the Bank rules. You can cash in on either champion, right? So Punk could cash in on Cody. That would be. Remember how I laid out that whole thing out earlier about CM Punk cashing in the Money in the Bank on McIntyre, and while he's holding the Money in the Bank, he does nothing but torment McIntyre. This is assuming Drew beats Priest at the Clash, of course. And then Punk vows to make every day of McIntyre's title run a complete living hell. He's going to constantly be threatening him, teasing him every time McIntyre has a match, or God forbid has to defend his title. He's going to be looking over his shoulder. He is in constant worry that Punk is going to cash in on him. But secretly, Punk is just messing with Drew in order to give the ultimate surprise to Cody Rhodes. So he's messing with Drew. It's like, it's just a little bonus. He's two birds with one stone. He gets to exact revenge on McIntyre and make his life a living hell while he's secretly watching Cody. And Cody is not worried about Punk. Punk is off his radar because Cody's assuming that Punk is focused on McIntyre. And then Punk is secretly just waiting for Cody to find himself in a compromising situation and comes in and cashes in on Cody Rhodes. Maybe do it at SummerSlam. Cody wrestles whoever, beats Randy Orton. Randy Orton could be a good option. And then Punk comes out to cash in after everybody thought he was going to cash in on Drew McIntyre. And then he shows up and takes the other belt instead. That would be so fun. I'd be into that. Gunther versus Sheamus again, we could get. I'd like to see Gunther and John Cena. Might be fun. Isaac, somebody asked me about Ricky Starks over the weekend. I think if Ricky Starks signed with WWE, which I think at this point a lot of people feel like he will, I would just start him in NXT, to be honest. Not because he needs development. I just think that would be a good place for him to start. Plenty of good talent there. And plus, you got to fine tune how you want to be presented in WWE. And you can kind of work on that there just a little bit. We're not talking about staying there for 2 years or anything. Just stay down there for a little while. Get a persona, get an idea of, what you want to say, what you want to be like before just being thrown right onto the main roster in like a sink or swim situation. Develop yourself a little bit in NXT just to get your groove going and then boom, out to the main roster. So I would put him in NXT first. Absolutely. I just don't think he's done enough on cable TV just to go right to Raw or SmackDown seamlessly with all the fans knowing exactly who he is and what he has to offer. AEW dropped the ball with him a lot, and they didn't, they probably should have maybe used him more, showcased him more, featured him more, taken more advantage of opportunities they had with him. So I feel like getting more of a foothold on what you want to be is more possible in WWE, especially if you just go into NXT first and work a little there, just get in front of their camera and their system a little bit and just get into the groove. That's all. Just a matter of and that's the thing. It's not even an insult. If I was a wrestler, if I was a 15-year veteran coming in with about the same level of notoriety as Ricky Starks, I would want to go to NXT. I would want to set myself up for the best chance of success. I wouldn't find it insulting at all. It wouldn't damage my ego or my pride whatsoever. I'm like, hey, before I'm out on Raw or SmackDown, that's a little bit, I might shit my pants out there. Let's do some work in NXT. Let me get some reps there. Let me just, meet everybody, and get an idea of their system and that type of thing. I'd want to just get a little bit acclimated to being in WWE before I'm just out there on WWE. So that's what I would do. But once he's there, he can work with everybody because he's got crazy charisma. I think he'd have some fun in-ring interactions with a lot of people. And if you got him to the main roster by the time we get into next year in 2025, I'd stick him and The Rock in the ring together. Have him come out there and The Rock can do a little double take. You look like me in 1998, but way smaller. Yeah, Zane, babyface Gunther I like because you do have to think about it. We talked about that earlier too. We have two monster heels right now on Raw in Bron Breakker and Gunther, who are just seemingly unstoppable. But on the other side, you also have Braun Strowman, who's a babyface, who's mowing down people. And I'm wondering if they're setting up a Bron Breakker and Braun Strowman collision here, since Strowman right now is involved with another deal, but I feel like they could collide. Bron Breakker is on a Rampage backstage. If he comes across Braun Strowman, that might be fun to see them butt heads too. So you got some action on Raw. And we got no Damian, our world champion was only on the show in a backstage segment. That's it. And CM Punk and Drew McIntyre were largely invisible too. Drew had a backstage little bit and Punk not on the show at all. So once everybody's there, you get top of their game Gunther and Strowman and Bron Breakker. CM Punk is back. McIntyre possibly champion. Maybe Damian Priest is. And Dominic's healthy again. Mommy comes back. Raw's looking good. If Raw was healthy across the board, Seth Rollins is another example. If everybody currently signed to the Raw brand was 100% healthy right now, it'd be the best show in wrestling. Strongest cast, I think. It's crazy. Yeah, well, Gunther, the next step, Joe, for Gunther is to be world heavyweight champion. And when you are making him now king of the ring, you're not going to be able to avoid it for very long because, then you're just going to be treating him like you did Undertaker back in the mid 90s. He was unbeatable. He never lost, but yet he wasn't getting title shots because he was just too busy feuding with other people. So that's why next week is so crucial. Whatever he does next week either has to be his next program that's not going to be for a world title, or you would think Gunther, being the man and character we know him to be, is the type of character after winning the King of the Ring, the next opportunity he gets on the microphone in a ring, he's going to say, I want the champion. Why would he not? He already believes he's the best. He doesn't need a crown to make that true. He already knows it's true. So what would be his reasoning for not calling out a champion next week? That's why I think somebody might have to interrupt him, or we might get something to kill time with him, an angle or a feud or somebody to beat up to kill some time to get closer to when you want to pull the trigger with him. And right now you've got other things going on with the title. With Damian Priest has just won it. McIntyre is probably going to win it. And then CM Punk could be involved in winning that championship as well. Where does Gunther fit into that? So if he's not fitting into that storyline right now, you need to find something else for him to do. So what is that other thing that he does? That's why I said earlier, since everybody's on the same plane coming back from Saudi Arabia anyway, maybe if he wins, like I said, he beats Randy Orton in the finals by holding the ropes, getting some extra leverage, gets the pin, referee doesn't see it. Maybe he cheats, uses a chair or something like that. Randy Orton confronts him on Raw since he happens to be in town. How about we set up a interpromotional match, Clash at the Castle, me versus you, and then Gunther works with Randy Orton for another match or two, probably just one, and then you get some more time out of that. You get more mileage. You get 2 matches out of Gunther and Randy Orton now, and then we're into Money in the Bank. Then you can talk about even putting him in the match. Then if you put him in the match, if you put Gunther in the Money in the Bank match, you've bought yourself some more time, because Gunther does not need to win the Money in the Bank to get a championship shot. So you can kill time with Gunther by getting one more match with Randy Orton at Clash at the Castle. Then you just stick Gunther in the Money in the Bank. He can lose that without losing, keeps him safe and protects him because he's not eating a pin or submitting or anything. I would stick Punk in that match too and have CM Punk win the Money in the Bank. And then Gunther, then you take Gunther into SummerSlam. I don't know. He can do something there. Maybe another match with Sammy or something. No, I think that's where Sammy and Gable need to do their match, maybe there. But you can kill some time with Gunther before you kind of have no choice but to put him in the title mix. So they have ways that they could extend that and have him tread water before it's time to get there, but they're not going to be able to avoid it for forever. And I wouldn't even, with Gunther too, I wouldn't even worry about him having to win the Royal Rumble. I don't think Gunther needs to do anything really to earn the shot, unless he does win some number 1 contenders match on TV or something. But in terms of a briefcase or a Royal Rumble, I don't think Gunther needs it. I think Gunther, when he wins the title, it's just because he has a title shot based on how badass he is. He got the title shot because he always wins. And he's lost 2 matches in 3 years or whatever it is. So obviously he deserves a championship shot. So I don't think you need a gimmick with him to get the title to him. You just, at some point, need to put him in the ring with a champion. And I'm assuming that champion's going to be the World Heavyweight Champion. So we will see. Oh, Zane G has Gunther winning the briefcase, cashing in on Punk, assuming Punk beats McIntyre for the title. Yeah, Zane, but like I said earlier, I think in order for Punk to win the title, he kind of needs the briefcase because he hasn't done shit, man. He signed in November, worked for 15 minutes in the Rumble and got hurt, and that's it. He's wrestled 15 minutes in 10 years in WWE. So, in the last 10 years. So, giving him a title shot, how do you justify that? It's pro wrestling. You can justify anything. You can give a fucking aardvark an Intercontinental title shot if you want. So they don't have to really explain it, but it would be silly when Punk literally has done nothing physically in the ring, won 0 matches in 10 years, getting a championship shot. You give him the briefcase, you get to leapfrog all that logic, and he can just cash in. And plus, Punk has a history with the briefcase, and I think he'd be way more fun than Gunther. You know, some guys, I don't want winning the briefcase. Gunther's one of them. He's too badass. I didn't want Brock winning the briefcase either. You know, these are guys that should just get title shots and win. They don't need a briefcase to come in and cash in on somebody in a heel way. That's for the Mizes, the Edges, the Jerichos, and even the Punks to a degree, and people who have cashed in on that way. I don't really need to see badasses doing that. And I think Gunther, WWE's worked really hard to just kind of legitimize him and whatnot. So if he were to win his first world championship, Gunther's first championship, the first world title he's going to hold, he's going to win it in that way. Doesn't match up with the character that we know him to be in my mind. So I'm not doing it that way with Gunther. Yo, shout out to Jordan Karg. Always good to see you, man. Shout out to the Juliet gifting out a membership, another one. Denny Downbad hooked up with another membership. Right on. Denny, welcome back to the family. Damn, Mangalorean, nearly 6 a.m. in Ireland. Thank you for staying up late, waking up early, whatever it is over there. Have a great night and get some rest. It is only 10 p.m. here on the West Coast. Yeah, whenever Gunther wins the title, I expect it to be a healthy run. That's why they probably are going to kill some time with him. I don't think they're going to jump right into that. It's too crowded right now, kind of at the top. That's why WWE creatively on that end need to come up with time-killing things for him to do. And we threw out a bunch of them earlier on, getting another match with Randy Orton at Clash at the Castle, maybe bringing Brock back in. You can put him in the Money in the Bank, not have him win it, but put him in the Money in the Bank. I wouldn't have him win it, but at least if he's in it, that kills another pay-per-view match for him. Plus, it protects him. He can lose without submitting or pinning or getting pinned, so no big deal there. And then you're into SummerSlam, where I would like for him to have a big marquee match of some kind. I just don't know who that would be with. If it's not for a championship, and assuming he doesn't find his way back into the IC mix, which I don't think he does, I don't know what he does there. I don't know what he does at SummerSlam unless he's involved in the title match in like a triple threat, and that's what it could be. You could have CM Punk win the briefcase, then at SummerSlam, it's Damian Priest or Drew McIntyre, probably McIntyre, defending the World Heavyweight title against Damian Priest and Gunther in a triple threat. We had Sheamus, Drew, and Gunther triple threat at Mania last year. It was tremendous. So maybe if you do that for the championship at SummerSlam, and then Punk cashes in and wins, that would be awesome. And again, that prolongs, the inevitable. And then maybe Gunther beats Punk for the title. I think, because you have to think about that as well. You have to think about when Gunther becomes champion. Whenever that day comes, we know it's coming. It's probably coming in 2024. Probably. Maybe not. Could come at WrestleMania. They might want to wait and give him the moment, the big moment at WrestleMania. But WrestleMania is going to already have a lot of big moments. The Rock is going to be back. Roman's going to be back. There's going to be a lot of things happening. So maybe it comes earlier. And when that happens, who would you want his opponent to be? You want Gunther's first win, first world championship victory in WWE to be a memorable one. I think a victory over CM Punk in the record books looks a lot prettier than a victory over Damian Priest, to be honest. And I think he could just destroy Punk. I mean, he could just murder him for the championship. Kind of like Brock Lesnar. Like if they did a Gunther and CM Punk match and booked it the way they booked Brock and Cena at SummerSlam 2014, That would be pretty awesome. And it would be Punk doing the ultimate honor of honors. There would be no disservice to Punk whatsoever. If I was Punk, I'd be honored to put over the next big thing. I'd be honored to let the next, legit ass kicker smash me. I would. Because that's going to look good. He's going to be, if Gunther goes on to become, the world-class Hall of Fame caliber pro wrestler that we all expect him to be. In 20 years from now, we're looking back at one of the most storied and decorated careers of all time. We're going to look back to that first win and say, wow, he beat CM Punk for his first championship. CM Punk's an old man now in a walker, just like me. And that could be one way to do it. And maybe that happens at Survivor Series or something. We'll see. I don't know. I'd like to see Gunther versus Cena. Amato, do I think this Saturday event will affect Double or Nothing on Sunday? I doubt it. I don't think so. It's not like the fans have to choose. You don't have to buy, you just have to have Peacock. So you're not spending any extra money watching both. Plus, it's an early Saturday morning thing or an early Saturday day thing. And you got a full day. I don't think it would hurt too much, but it is weird having two companies having two pay-per-views on opposite days, but it's also kind of cool. And on a weekend, you can never have too much wrestling. So hopefully not. Ha! Gunther transfers to Saudi Arabia, or transfers to Double or Nothing the night after Saudi Arabia. That would be funny. Oh, sorry, Zane, did I miss one from you? Let me go over here and find it. Oh, I see here. Are you talking about the Gunther versus Roman Reigns? A long shot. Yeah, you're maybe talking about doing it between now and SummerSlam or now when he wins the championship. Probably not. I think Gunther and Roman Reigns needs to happen, and that'll be awesome when it does. But I don't really think it has a place right now. But yeah, we're going to get that. That's the thing. We're going to get everything. There's not going to be a match we're just not going to get. I think WWE will see to it that before Roman Reigns is done and before he's retired for good, that we get a match between Roman and Gunther. Absolutely. And now something else to think about. Now that Roman Reigns is no longer champion, he could conceivably be in the Royal Rumble. And that could be fun. That could be your first tease. It might take him another year to get to it, but you could have Roman and Gunther face to face in the Rumble. Just that little tease, just like they did with Jade and Bianca and lots of others in the past. Just a little tease before they inevitably get to that match at some point, maybe after the next draft, and they wind up on the same brand, or one of them wins the Rumble and challenges the other. We're going to get there, I think, at some point. But I think Roman Reigns' story is kind of penciled in for about the next 365. So I don't even think we can talk about Gunther and Roman until we get on the other side of that, in my opinion. But anyway, I have got to get out of here now. I appreciate you guys just hanging out and shooting the shit on this Monday evening. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget, it is going to be a crazy week. A lot of links are already up on the channel right now. Thursday's predictions podcast and this Saturday's King of the Ring review, this Sunday's Double or Nothing watch party. All of those links are up right now, and a video will be dropping on Thursday morning as well. So a busy week here on the channel. It's going to be fun. 2 pay-per-views, lots to talk about. Should be a hoot. Appreciate you guys being here. Do me a favor, smash the thumbs up button on the way out the door if you don't mind, and I will be talking to y'all real soon. Enjoy the rest of your Monday.